So I was really excited. So as a one-off, I really didn't know that Julkoun they had a map for Julkoun, and that it actually had a chain to go from one side to the other. I guessed. I'm flatly telling you that right now. I'm cutting this out. This will not be in what gets to YouTube. but I totally guessed, and I was like, no way! This is fantastic.
Wait, dude.
Rock on. All right. We're going to go ahead and start now. We're going to do the quick recap. I think Smurf do you have this still for a date for episode 2?
I have it ready.
Awesome. Okay, so you guys are in for a treat for a recap of episode 2. The good news is we are going to be releasing episode 2 to YouTube sometime later today, tonight, and or tomorrow. And then we'll quickly bundle this one up and send it out as well. So this is the episode 3 of Storm King's Thunder. We're taking a slightly different path. So if you're like on book going, I don't. Where are you at? The reason is because, and the first thing I would go is, what are you reading, right? That might be hint 1, but we're taking a little bit of a different path in order to kind of get a little get a spiciness into the notion of stuff.
Spicy meatball.
Exactly. So with no further delay, Smurf, please provide us an episode 2 recap.
Last time, we started with the crew fighting an angry group of ice mephits who blocked their path. Emerging victorious, they continued to meet the isolated giant slayer, Jahiar. Convincing her to join them, they head back to the town, only to find it under attack by Yigor Bonecrusher, beating the town hall with a pair of trees. Little did he know, we would beat him harder, with weapons. With the aid of Jahiar and Eslandra, the sorcerer, we overcame Yigor, much to the town's thanks. The task done, we continued to Julkoun, across a small river ferry. Let's do this.
Okay, so this is the village of Julkoun. It's on the other side. It's kind of the first settlement that has more than just a handful of people. When you head west of Daggerford, where the party started, along the Delimbury River. So we're going to zoom in real quick to kind of take a look at where the party is. Now, as a reminder, I explained this before when y'all approached Julkoun. The city was actually built into different sections, and you can definitely tell like where the warehouse and Jester's Pride is. Don't worry about the numbering, because if you're going to ask me, hey, I want to go to 4, I'd be like, it's a building. The Jester's Pride area, it's much newer. There's definitely it's raised up. It has much more serious defenses. The city area that you're going into is kind of it's still a mercantile area, but it's not the same quantity of money clearly isn't there. And the one thing that you notice as you approach is over to the east side, there is just an entire section of the city of Julkoun that's been burned to ashes. And again, the party is kind of represented right now by Traben right here. And I think the only thing that you all know at this point really is to link up with Angela Oaktree. I don't know if there's...
I also have to find a...
I find a what?
Light of Day.
That's it.
Timothy Light of Day's cousin.
Ah, yes.
Who I don't remember getting a name for.
Oh, right. So we're going to go ahead and say that his cousin's name was not Eslandra.
Was not Alessandra?
Yes, that as a name altogether. See, what I did was I built in there 2 points at which Krista could join us depending on how far we went, day 1 and day 2. See, that's trickery on my part. But since we hadn't finished with Jahiar, there is another halfling. She happens to be a basically, as you come to the other side, There is more city guard that kind of recognizes who you are. Brendan, the guy who actually pulled you across, he didn't have a name at the conclusion of episode 2. He's kind of informed you about 2 groups of people that passed by. In his mind, it's recent, but really it's prior to the torrential downpour that had occurred. So we're talking over a month. You are the first group of adventurers who have entered Julkoun, since the rains have let up. So
the masked group was before the rains.
That's correct. The masked group and Giles, he seemed like a very wealthy individual. He was kind of flanked by 2 men that kept talking the whole time, and Brendan was kind of awestruck by just the showiness of Giles. Giles definitely has a air of mystery and charisma that is striking, and the one thing that Brendan constantly commented as he's pulling you across the river is the notion of how amazed and transfixed the 2 people that flanked Giles were, and they were like constantly giving him updates, and he would just kind of dismiss them. And Brendan thought that was so cool that that someone could get to that position of authority and power, that he could in a single hand gesture, like the conversation stopped right away. So you all have reached the other side, and you're now in the city of Julkoun. Anything that you need to purchase from a gear perspective, easily found within these city walls. So if you're looking for something that you want to shop for, now's the time to do it. The city guard that kind of greets you on the other end, they Brendan's kind of jumping in front and securing the boat or the ferry on this side of the river, and you can kind of tell he's about to lead you all towards where Angela is, and there's guards on the side. Brendan, why don't you just wait here? Go ahead and just go back and wait for stay here to ferry people back and forth. And he's just kind of like all the air just kind of lets out of him. Okay, and he kind of heads off to wait. The guards on the other side said they kind of let you know ahead of time that you all are very recognizable because a letter came for them to tell them that you were coming, and they just, even without even blank, they're like, "Do you know how many times we've seen 2 dragonborn together?" Yeah, never. So you're the group. We get that. Angela is waiting in Jester's Pride, and they kind of point behind them. So like as you're looking at them, I guess they do more like this. And it's a very substantial building in the upper district.
And so we can kind of go buy things if need be. Can I buy that thing that I was looking for?
Yes, but you have to play that all the way out. So first off, before we do anything, is there anything that I don't usually split up the party, but this isn't like a dangerous quote unquote area. So just kind of curious if there is. If the party is doing different things.
Well, Traven's going to look for not Alessandra.
Okay.
Well, deliver the letter.
So the guards kind of look for you and they go, actually, it's pronounced Ruth. I'm just kidding. But they go, no, she's actually one of the proprietors of the Jester's Pride. So you'll find Angela there. You'll find Ruth there as well. So
Ruth.
Yes, we'll change it to Ruth, not Alessandra. Just too much of a mouthful. So what does everyone want to do? Are you going to stick together and just go through? I mean, y'all have arrived. The guards don't seem to be rushing you to whatever the thing is. They just kind of inform you right away, and they kind of stand guard there. It's 2 guards on this side. This is a village. It's much larger than Stickley that you came from. I mean, far more of an actual inhabitants, but it's not. It's nowhere near Daggerford, right? This is an itty bitty little town in comparison. So.
Well, they're all small to Traven. He's from Waterdeep.
Oh, there you go.
I figure Arjek would stick with Traven.
Okay. So
Yeah, Aiden would stick with the group.
okay, so
We go together.
Same here.
okay, that's totally fine. So where is everyone, or where is the group headed?
Well, Traven's going to ask the guards, what happened out there? Why are all those cottages burned?
So I think it's best if you talk to Angela about that.
Fair enough.
And she's in Jester's Pride.
She's currently in Jester's Pride. She's using one of the upper floors. They've kind of have an ongoing deal between her and the proprietor of the establishment to say that this particular area is kind of used for business. Jester's Pride, being a tavern, is very happy to have city guard there. So it kind of works out as a mutually agreeable situation. It is in more of the upper, some of the more richer people that have come to Julkoun live up there. They kind of maintain the warehouse that's up there, which we are the last stop before you get to Daggerford. So a lot of people come in. This is a heavy merchant area, and even though the rains have kind of really hit us hard from a restocking perspective, the fact that the warehouse exists has meant that we really don't have a shortage at this point, because we don't have as much for people to. There's not enough people here to consume what we have. Our stocks are substantial.
I assure you, Arjack will soon change that situation.
And he goes, "Which one of you is Arjack?"
That'll be me, fella.
Big guy.
Well met.
Aye.
So where are y'all? So again, where are y'all headed?
I think we're following Traven's lead for now.
Okay.
Jester's Pride.
Okay. So you walk through the mercantile area that's down below. You notice that there is a bridge that crosses a bit of a moat between the two areas, and it's all uphill. Let's see. Do we have any soldier background for any of the people?
I have oh shoot, was it bodyguard? I don't think it's actual. No, I'm Outlander.
Or if there's anyone with like an engineering background.
No.
No. Okay. So then go ahead and everyone give me a perception check. If you had that as a background, I would just give you the information. And by the way, I set up the dice tower, but for whatever reason, I don't see it on my end. Do you all see a dice tower?
I see it.
You won't. You won't see the tower.
Oh, okay. Good. So that means the dice tower is up and running now. This is good. Yay. Wow, you guys are rolling really bad. So never mind. The highest roll netted an 8, and without that as a background, there's so you walk across the bridge. You know it definitely has a sturdier feel than the bridge that you walked across in Stickley. So Arjack, there's no like, well, I'm going to wait till people get by. No, I mean it's definitely a strong bridge that crosses that moat. Again, as you cross it and you head over into Jester's Pride, it's striking. Like a lot of the homes maybe get to 2 floors in this area. In the mercantile area, maybe just the port goes above 1 story. Okay. In the Jester's Pride area, a lot of the buildings are 2-story. The warehouse is this massive thing, and you were kind of awestruck by the fact that the wall around Jester's Pride is substantially high enough that even though it was really big, you didn't really get a sense of it. The reason that you thought of Jester's Pride, the actual bar area being, or the tavern being huge, is that the down gate allows you to kind of have visualization directly to it. You walk through into the interior of Jester's Pride, or from that upper area, and it's really thick walling. Like this side, you're like, I don't know, if Stickley was in here, maybe they wouldn't have cared about, encroaching hill giant kind of things. I mean, there's definitely a sense of preparedness here that didn't exist when you were going through Stickley. So the front door is open. The wafting of fresh buttered corn is just wafting through. You also get this slight scent of some of the finer ales that might be presiding in this part as you kind of walk into the building. The tavern area is actually kind of almost set up like a round robin stage area where seating is almost on a floor, like a half floor up from where you step in. Where you step in almost has like that feeling of a theater in the round. And then over to the right hand side, there's a bar. In the back area, you get the first semblances of desks and whatnot, where there appears to be another guard who's sitting there taking notes. But it's not a female dwarf, so how would y'all like to handle things?
Is Arjak able to stand in this room with the raised floor?
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Like it's a half. It's like 3 or 4 steps up, but then even from there to the next story is at least 9 feet.
Okay, cool.
So you kind of get the sense that it's set up, like I said, to be. This place whoever engineered and designed this particular structure thought ahead to have like a tavern that's a meeting hall, that's a potential entertainment center, anything that you could have wanted to transform this area into. The only problem would be number of people who could attend, right? And then you kind of had that kind of reminder in your brain again that this is kind of the nicer area, so maybe for performances and stuff that is like really, really nice, they would have a hefty entrance fee and then not have to worry about how many chairs and tables are available, right?
So Arjak will look to Traven and go, how long do you think it's been since we had a good meal?
I don't know. Those crabs were pretty tasty.
After they were cooked, crab meat's pretty good. But define good.
That's the point. It's been too long. Let's get some food.
If it feeds the body, it is good, right?
So Arjak's gonna go looking for waiter, waitress, barmaid, kid with a rag, whatever, to try to order some food.
So something that's very interesting is that all of the servers tend to be elves within the Jester's Pride, and they're all kind of lanky, and it again, that whole thing of there's quite a few people in here. You wouldn't be shocked if there's a good 55 or 60 people currently sitting and eating at the Jester's Pride. And this isn't necessarily a particular time of day. This is kind of like 2 p.m. So still quite a hefty crowd for not quite lunch. And so when you the people who are serving tend to be kind of these like waif thin people, just to kind of like nimbly move through the, you have an elf and a gnome and a halfling, and they're all kind of running all around, kind of zipping in and out of things, getting orders, zipping back. Huge contrast to that, okay, is this very, very portly individual who is clearly not the owner of the place, but he is the bartender.
Human?
Yes. He has no facial hair, bald up top. He has one of those kind of like
watch yourself.
The best example I can give you is minus the hair and beard, a Game of Thrones reference, Robert Baratheon. Like, you get the sense that he's probably could punch pretty well, but getting him around the bar to hit you means you're safe, right? That kind of thing. Okay.
Come, Marjack. You have the honor of buying me a drink.
No.
What?
He goes, no.
Okay.
And just,
What,
he's
arm
more
wrestle
interested
for
in
it?
food. Yeah, we can arm wrestle further.
All right, roll up your strength checks. Let's do it.
Strength checks.
Now, the second you all, because you all are doing it kind of in the corner where like the bar kind of turns, right? so that you both have a place to arm wrestle against. And the second it happens, the closest tables to you, you hear them whisper, and they're betting on this situation going on. And there is, what's interesting is you see the halfling who is kind of like zipping past the tables, and they're like, they've broken out their bets in such a way that there's like their bet, the other person's bet, and 10% of whatever the bet is sitting in a different pile. And the halfling just kind of runs around and grabs that, and you just go, that's the house's take of whatever's going on. So no one cares that gambling's going on here.
Do you want it in the dice tower, or do you want it public?
Oh no, this is something worth publicizing. So okay. I'm actually going to go ahead and
strength or athletics on this.
Oh, I think we're going to go strength.
So I just roll my strength attribute, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and scoot this over a little and get the dice rolls in here into the picture.
Level 2.
Wow. And they roll a 4 and a 6 on a 20-sided die. It is the people like stare intently, and they're watching this go on, and they're like, are they pulling our legs? Because you guys are just, like, you're not like putting your weight into it. You're like, well, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Oh, okay, Arjak wins, and right. And there's this like sense of, did we just get gypped out of this?
Perception.
Say that again.
He rolled a perception. Gesh did perception.
That's his perception check from before. He hasn't rolled yet.
I think he rolled.
Oh no, he rolled it. He rolled in the towers. Oh, I just realized. So Gesh, your total was a 7, and his was a 9, and that's with your strength bonuses, which are not insubstantial at level 2, right?
We really did not have any desire to do this for real.
It's kind of like maybe both of you.
I beat you all.
Yeah. So does Aiden actually do anything with his strength check?
No.
Okay, because I was about to say, all of a sudden Aiden walks up and she goes, switches both of you to the other side. Anyways, so the bartender sees what you're doing, and he's just like, oh man, I didn't get in on that action. That's a bummer. What can I serve y'all?
This fellow's gonna buy me a chicken. I would like a roasted chicken.
All right, we can do that, sir. What would you like? Is your friend
You're
mute?
muted.
Just to make it 2 of those roasted. What'd you call them? Chickens.
It's a chicken.
And 2 of your best frosty cool drink.
All right, sir, coming right up. And as soon as he turns around, he kind of again does more of a waddle as he's like leaving the area. And before he can go get whatever you want and bring it back, the female elf who's waiting tables just kind of all of a sudden there's the chicken and the beer sitting in front of you, and he turns around and goes, it's so hard to get tips here. And he starts coming back. He's like, so is there something else I might be able to help you with that's not food and drink?
Ruth.
Can I have a salad?
Little lady, we can. I'm sorry. I guess I don't know whether. So Dragonkin. I think we can get you a salad. That's kind of unexpected. I don't know exactly. Hey, we got a salad nightmare. Yeah. It's a lot of lettuce. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey.
Throw a carrot on it.
Throw some raisins in there. Yeah, that's all we got. Okay, do it. So okay, we got you covered. And he kind of looks over at Treyban and he's like, and you, sir?
I would like to speak with Ruth.
Oh, well, if you want to speak to Ruth, you see that man right there taking notes on the table right there?
Yes.
So he is her lieutenant. All you have to do is go talk to him. You can tell him that Robert told you to go talk to him, and he'll let you see him.
Robert, you are Robert.
Absolutely.
Well met, Robert.
Thank you.
Robert, got another question for you.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, we're also looking for Angela. How about we get an audience with her?
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Silly me. You want to talk to Ruth? That's the little one running around grabbing all the coin. That's Ruth. Angela is how you go. You go meet her through the lieutenant.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, I drink a little too much, I must admit.
You know, rule number 1 is not to tap your own keg, if you know what I'm saying.
No, rule number 1 is stay on the path.
Rule number 2 is keep up. Okay. So Ruth is the one that's zipping all around. She's actually kind of when all of a sudden you kind of stop her at one point, she goes, yes. And she has like a massive name tag right across her, right across, adorning. I mean, it's massive. It says, Ruth, I take your bets. And she's kind of made a name for herself for being like unbelievably quick to provide change and stuff. For lack of a better term in D&D parlance, she's a bookie. And so she's made quite a penny. Like, even though she's doing this for a living, you get the sense that she is really wealthy in town.
So I guess he's gonna leave a silver on the bar for the bartender, since he Robert.
Roberto.
It's so helpful. So he gets a tip.
That's mighty kind of you, sir. You appreciate that.
I'll tip you after the chicken.
So the chicken and alcohol is sitting in front of you.
Oh, how is it?
Why don't you roll a survival check in the dice tower? We'll find out. Because it's not necessarily how well it's done in Julkoun. It's how well do you like it? Oh, you not a fan. You're like, maybe this is chicken. Where are the bones?
I slide over like 5 cops.
Okay. Just so you know, you rolled a 1.
All right, Jack. I never realized that chicken comes with this long, stringy tail in the back.
Actually, yours tastes a lot like chicken that he would have expected. They knew who paid. Anyways, so again, Ruth is incredibly grateful that she's gotten correspondence from her cousin. She takes kind of like the letter in both arms, and you've rarely seen this kind of level of excitement from anyone, especially since the enduring terror that everyone had with Tiamat approaching, and then with the storms, and then with the giants. It's like you just haven't seen this kind of excitement coming from another being. She's just and looking, and she's like, "That's so great news!" And she kind of hugs the letter for a second. And then she goes, I need to get you something. And she kind of leaves for a second, comes back, and she's like, I know that there's always kind of interesting things that people need particular gems for. And she kind of like just hands you a pearl, and she goes, if you find that you need this elsewhere, or someone else needs it, then you'll have it. And then she kind of darts off, and she's like, again, dealing with her trade.
She gave us the excrement of a clam?
Sometimes they're used in spells.
It's a very, very nice pearl.
Hayden, could you make use of this?
That's a good question. You make me check all my spells?
No, just hold on to it, maybe.
I'll hold on to it. Maybe not now, but later I might need it. Like if one of you guys dies.
Could happen.
That's a diamond, I think.
Aiden directly goes for the dying as the first.
We're all gonna die.
Yeah, good times. Good times.
Eventually we all
Well, a lot of excitement. So, does Traben grab something to eat or anything?
Yeah, he'll have, if there's like a special...
Chicken.
He's fond of stew, if there's like an all-day stew cooking or something.
Yes. In fact,
spring-killed chicken's delicious.
There's a very hearty smell of stew that gets brought to you, like it wafts off the bowl, and you're given this massive spoon. And as you continue to consume it, you kind of chuckle a little bit because clearly no one's come to ask you to pay for the stew, and the Robert kind of says, Ruth said thank you again, and hands you the stew, and it's chunky. It's a chunky stew. There's lots of like potatoes. There aren't carrots because unfortunately they didn't have carrots for the salad. But there's definitely a broth and pieces of chunky stew bits and stuff. It's very tasty.
Yes. Fine. This is good stew. You should try this, Aiden.
Is
Here,
Ruth or Robert still around?
Robert is having a hard time leaving the corner, so yeah, Robert's right there, ready. He's doing his best to kind of turn around a little bit, and he's like, "Oh, did you need something?"
I got some questions for you.
Okay.
So since we're kind of new to the area, if we need to get the lay of the land, like let's say we need to find maybe like a shop that sells maps and books or something like that, where would we go?
Well, it really depends. Is it a collectible or is it just a book?
Functional, like things we might need to, like hunting 101 or how to survive a dragon attack. Or
I'm not much of a reader per se, but I would say that most sundry items and things of the like would be. You definitely get a bit of a bargain if you don't buy it in this area, if you know what I'm saying here.
Okay. Any recommendations out the other area?
Well, again, if you're looking for books, I guess I would actually probably try. There's like in the eastern section, like the hardest to get to section, they kind of stick wayfarer merchants, so that basically they don't consume the majority of the resources from Julkoun, while because the novelty factor gets high and everyone goes, "Ooh, gotta have one of those." You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so no shop name or anything, just
no. Because there is no store name. It's just if you go to the east side, like the last two buildings on the the west side of Julkoun, they've kind of have two buildings. They don't allow them to create signage over there because it's like people got to actually go over there. If it's we don't want to dissuade the merchants from selling their wares here because that increases interest and population growth and all that kind of wonderful stuff in Julkoun, but we also don't want them to necessarily take the majority of coinage from other travelers that need to enter Julkoun to keep us in the way that we are, right? It's not super urban luxury, mind you, but it's a place to call home.
Now, what about, I'm guessing the same area, if we need to pick up like smith work or maybe an herbalist or something like that, we could go that way and find them out that way too?
What do you mean by herbalist?
Potions.
Oh, you're talking about real magic. Let's see. I think if we were to, I would probably there's a alchemist. Basically, if you look at where 8 is on the map, that's about where you'd find Tim is magic. Tim is magic. Sometimes he said, I have to warn you, when you go talk to Timmy, he's a very fast talking individual. There's times when I don't understand him, and sometimes when he says his store name, it's like Tim is magic, and you're like, what?
You just kind of want to punch him in the arm a little bit.
Well, no. I mean, he's a nice fella. Don't get me wrong here, but he just you might not recognize exactly what he's charging you. He's almost like an auctioneer.
And what about like any sort of like cart, buggies, or horses, or
you're not gonna find that here. This is a seafaring town. We don't go anywhere unless it's on foot or it's by the river. I mean,
large fish we could ride.
I can't answer that for you, sir. I really don't know nothing about no large fish riding.
Well, he's gonna pass Robert a silver and go, "Thank you, I appreciate it."
Oh, very kind, and kind of switches over a little bit, dusts a little bit of the. Yep, sorry.
Why is the western part of your town in ashes?
They haven't had much luck over there. Every single time they try to... That's actually the third time that we tried to build out there. And every time it seems like one thing or another, right? It's the, there's little dragons all of a sudden everywhere, and they're burning the place down, right? Then they tried to set it up, and they had roving gangs of thieves, and we kicked them out of the town. I was very proud of that. I was part of that. In fact, and he kind of straightens himself up and does the best to, like, suck his gut in, and he goes... I was a big part of making that happen. We did a good job, me and Angela, clearing out that area. I was deputized. I was very proud of that moment. I'm very proud of Julkoun. But unfortunately, when they vamoosed, they burned down the settlement basically with the notion of, well, if you're not going to let us live here, we're going to make sure no one lives here. And then the most recent thing is we had literally 2 roaming hill giants come through and just knock down some of the things. One headed back north and the other one headed south. Swam across the river and just kept going.
Maybe it got a bath doing that.
That's a good one. Hill giants with a bath. I think I owe you a coin, Sora, just for making me laugh so much. Here you go.
Do I get the silver back I just gave him?
No, he gives you back the 5 copper you gave him originally. You're not that funny, sir.
Perhaps we have met one of those giants.
Well, he definitely had. He was very fond of picking up entire trees and beating down
and hitting buildings. Yes, I believe we did meet that
He
fellow.
get a bunch of twigs and stuff in his hair, kind of made him look all frou-frou.
You know what? I have to say it was kind of funny. We kept thinking we've seen plays by Master, the bard in this neck of the woods that had it kind of depicted fairy folk, and we kind of thought, hey, you know what? That hairstyle looks a little bit like that. Now, granted, we were standing from the wall, just kind of pointing and laughing because we were like, thank goodness he can't get to us.
Gesh goes, yes, it also makes a very fine pauldron, and he points at his shoulder where he is wearing the scalp of Bonecrusher.
Yeah. So Robert kind of looks forward and goes, well, that's one less concern we have. But kind of like does a slight take back, like you're kind of scaring him a little bit.
So we appreciate your help, Robert, but I'm thinking we need to go talk to this. You said it was a lieutenant?
Yeah.
Lieutenant. Does this fella got a name?
Yes. His name is Daniel.
Lieutenant Dan?
Of course it is.
What's so funny?
Does he got legs?
Yes, of course he has legs. That's silly.
That's a valid question. If he's sitting around and not in the field, he could be an amputee.
He is missing two toes.
2 toes.
Yes.
Okay. So can we call him 8-toe Dan?
No, we shall not.
I advise against that because, I will say right now, the man is a very capable warrior, and he is deceptively skilled. I'll leave it at that. And I'm going to go ahead and take my leave if there's any thoughts of...
We're not here to antagonize anyone or cause any ruckuses.
Well, because if the lieutenant doesn't take you down, Angela's going to take you down. That much is money on the table. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and take that silver you gave me, Ruth, just in case they want to tangle with Angela. I'm not missing out on this on Angela.
We are not fighting anyone. We are safe.
I'm just saying. I saw y'all did some arm wrestling. Even if that happens, on Angela.
Very well.
Thank you, Robert.
So
Hope I don't have to punch you one day. Take care.
yep. That's what the gut's for. Wouldn't fail a thing. So y'all leave the bar, head on over to this man. He's kind of a stern individual. He's not. Robert's very more carefree than Lieutenant Dan, and you can kind of tell that the lieutenant really has had to deal with a lot of really difficult issues in the recent past, right? He is taking notes, and when you guys start walking up, he's kind of like rubbing his temples a little bit, and that's when he kind of notices, he's like, Marcus sent you, huh?
You're the man, Dan. How you doing?
I've had better, but I don't know if I want to spoil the story that's about to come to you via Angela. Why don't I go get Angela? Actually, why don't y'all follow me? We'll go talk to her.
Sounds like a plan, Dan.
You guys go up a staircase, and really, again, none of the city people know that you're coming, but all the guards do. Every single one that you've passed is kind of giving you a knowing look. I mean, again, nowhere in Faerun, especially on this side of the Sword Coast, are you going to have a Goliath 2 Dragonborn chilling with a slightly childish halfling and a godly paladin who rattles his shield every once in a while, all in the same group. It's an interesting mix that really, I can't wait until we get to see what that looks like visually. But we will be sharing that as soon as that happens.
What is Alessandra doing right now?
So Alessandra, for as kind of like keeping up with Ruth, running back and forth and kind of like finding out what she's doing is kind of interesting to her because again, she has a similar background, right? Working for her father in the tavern and just kind of, but like actually trying to notice and pick up on how Ruth kind of does this immediate change. And all of a sudden it's almost like magic where a coin gets picked up and 2 coppers get dropped in the same location as change for, taxation from the house. It's this instantaneous thing. And so Alessandra's kind of mesmerized by it, but when she kind of sees that y'all have left the bar area, she's kind of running after you guys and zipping up the stairs behind everyone else.
Kind of like that bard named David Copperfelt.
I would guess so. Yes. So, okay. So y'all come through. There's at the top of the stairs. There's actually double doors, and it opens up into a really, really nice combination of office, and you can kind of tell that there is bedding material so that Angela, whenever she calls it a night, she just stays here at the tavern. I actually have an image that I wanted to use for her, but I wasn't able to drop it into Fantasy Grounds right away. So let me see if I still.
I was gonna wait for you to hold it up to your camera.
So let's see.
Old school.
Yes. Right. All right.
So, who's gonna be doing the talking when we meet this lady?
Whoever wishes to.
Okay, I'll do it.
We each have a mouth. We each have a voice.
Some louder than others.
So, incredibly, she's a stern woman, okay? And Arjak, your initial impression of her is, I mean, it's, again, one of those things where it's always hard to imagine someone who comes up to about your belly button being a huge threat to you.
Right.
But the way that she looks at you, it's piercing, right? She actually smiles more than what you see here, but she has kind of a golden hue, and it's one of the things that you don't typically see in dwarves that you've come across thus far. Any of you through any amount of time that you've seen dwarves, the notion has typically been that they've been more underground. This woman has clearly been on the surface a great deal, and she has darkened, tanned skin. Okay.
She's a dwarf?
She is a dwarf.
So she probably comes out to shorter than my belly button.
No, I mean this one comes up to your belly button.
Oh, okay, got it.
So, want to go too? Go. No.
I'll kind of pull. In marching order, I'll kind of pull up the rear on this one.
Okay.
Did you actually share an image with us? Because I didn't actually see one come up.
I'll share it again.
Where are you sharing it at? Oh. Is her hammer bloody when we meet her?
No, but it is that ornate, and she doesn't let it go. Like, you can tell she's taking notes, and she's like, okay, we're missing, she's kind of pacing back and forth, and she's using the hammer sometimes as a walking cane, where she's kind of holding the metallic part of the hammer. Sometimes she's actually swinging it. She has such this is a weapon that she is just ultimately familiar with. She's almost doing tricks with it as she's kind of pacing back and forth and trying to come up. And as soon as you come in, her kind of stern expression immediately changes to one of much lighter, and she's like, come in. And she's ushering you in as fast as she can into the office, right? And she's like, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you taking up this request. Marcus is a dear friend of mine. And again, as you start looking at her, her skin is, she has almost a youthful appearance, but when you're much closer to her, her skin has really that kind of lots of lines from smiling and from the sun damage and stuff like that. She has aged, and it becomes her, but it from a distance she looks more youthful than up close. She kind of has a table in the middle and 8 chairs where she kind of says, this is where we have our meetings. Please take a seat. Jackie, the first thing you notice when you pull the chair out is that even though she's a smaller individual, the chairs are very sturdy. Like, you could sit down hard and you're not gonna like break legs and it fall on you.
Built for comfort, not for speed.
It is not, actually it's more built for sitting down and not staying for more than 15 minutes because there's no cushions, right?
Okay.
So she invites you all to sit down. Do you?
Oh, yes, most definitely.
Okay, so she doesn't sit down. She goes, I apologize, I just can't sit down right now. And she kind of walks around the table telling a bit of a tale. And she's like, a few nights before the torrential downpour started to kind of hit Julkoun, we had 2 groups of individuals come into the city. We had a man by the name of Giles and a group of masked individuals. And we really don't understand really and truly what the masked individuals want. That's not really my concern. My concern is Giles. It appears that he has somehow found a way to get all of the brigands that were encamping just outside the city walls, and they have been attacking any sort of caravan that's left east or north of the city. And while most of our trade is done via river, I don't think the city quite realize how many people that we've lost. And that is of my greatest concern. I don't know what's happening to the caravans that leave to the north and to the east. We haven't been seeing people return. At first, when it started having this like really heavy rain, I was thinking maybe people were just fearful for their maybe lost or long lost family and decided to trek out to make sure that they were safe and haven't returned. But people have started coming to my lieutenant and leaving little notes to say, we can't find this family member. And so when we take a look, it's a great deal of the professional merchants that are disappearing. So it's not just men, it's not just women, it's typically not children. And I hate to say this, but I kind of think that because it's not the children, people are not as alarmed as they probably should be.
So where is this Giles character?
So we've been trying to triangulate based on people who have left, notes that we have gotten, trying to figure out, and all of a sudden she kind of brings over this map, and it's just immaculately drawn of both Julkoun and the outlying area, and you can tell that she has been having these like different calligraphied lines that kind of leave from Julkoun and then stop at certain points. And she goes, we've found, and she goes, we haven't really seen many people leave to the north that haven't, the percentage of people that return is much larger than those people that head to the east. And she then grabs a quill from her desk and she starts drawing another line. She's like, there is one other person we haven't accounted for. And it's so and she draws, and as she draws, you notice that all the calligraphy, all the drawing, everything that's about this map must have come from her hand. There's a grace to it as she kind of pens another line and then puts a little X mark. Sometimes we'll find that the carts and carriages are dismantled, and this is where you'll notice that there's a square. And sometimes we'll find that the families have been slaughtered wholesale, and there's an X. And sometimes, and she goes, I am 100% convinced that it is Giles behind this. And honestly, I'm concerned for the town as a whole, because we are doing well as merchants, but the reality is that we also have farms that live outside the city walls. And that's where we're losing a lot of people.
When she mentions the farms, Arjet kind of perks up a little bit. So, are they burning the farms at all, or are they just
no?
looting?
Someone from so the families that live on the farms typically live in groups of like 3 families, and they manage rather large farms together. And so what'll happen is one person will get up, pack a big carriage on route to Olvin or some of the other cities to the east, and as soon as they get on the road, we find the remains of either the carriage or, horses have disappeared. We haven't seen any slain horses. They're all, very much, we're guessing the bandits are probably taking them. But sometimes the family members are killed. Sometimes we have had a handful that were injured and we brought them back. They have all talked about the fact that they have it's usually brigands, but the brigands are all wearing masks. So, and it's never a large group of brigands attacking. They're very, sometimes if we're knowledgeable about them heading out, we'll send a couple of guards, and when that happens, they never get attacked. It's like they know ahead of time when there's guards. And the few people that have come back have said that even when they were attacked, it was by no more than 4 people.
Yeah. Is there somewhere in town where these brigands would be selling off the wares that they've been stealing? Now, obviously, they're not sitting on them forever. Is there, for lack of a better term, a black market in town?
And she kind of is a little. Is kind of downtrodden by the fact that you're asking, because she understands why you would ask, but she's like, not in my town. I understand why you ask, and I will try not to take any offense because I think it's a very valid question. But no, the problem is that most of the things that are taken are food.
What? Okay, take some. What's that?
It's not like rope or pickaxes. It's always food that is being collected. And the thing that is most troubling and frustrating is that while the warehouse here has a substantial allotment of food, we have to keep choosing whether or not we're going to be using it for trade or using it for ourselves. We want to kind of keep up the image and not have people be afraid. But we lost a lot of food also when we had 2 hill giants run through the eastern sector one more time and kind of destroy it.
I got a theory. What if these brigands, outlaws, are really just giants in disguise? That's why they're taking the food.
She kind of looks at you kind of funny, and she's like, being as tall as you are, that seems like an odd summation. I mean, they even said some of them weren't taller than me. I mean,
like I said, they're in disguise.
Oh. She immediately kind of turns to Treben and to Gesh, and she's like, "Do you have any thoughts on this?"
We did just come from a village where the village was being ransomed, strong-armed into giving up all their food to a giant.
Huh. I mean,
well, we believe, one of the 2 that destroyed the part of your town outside the wall.
Oh. Well, I mean, I guess that's good news, but...
Well, the story we were told is those 2 giants came out there, destroyed part of your town outside the walls. One swam the river and headed south. The other one went north. The one that went south had a really good haircut, I believe someone said. And I think if you look closely at my friend Gesh, you will see a familiar hairdo.
And she kind of looks away like, okay, trophies. And she's like, well, I'm thankful that you all took care of the situation. I'm hopeful that is the one that dealt that, it'd be nice to know that it was 2 that were, 2 villages that were effectively avenged for with your parlay of that creature.
So the village, or the remains of the village, the husk of buildings to the west, where you threw the brigands out the first time, have you checked there to see if they've reestablished themselves out there?
So I mean, the buildings we've sent guards over there, and they haven't seen anything that of any sort of note. But I don't think they're over there, but I don't know. Maybe you can find something that might help you figure out where they're going, where they are. We went through that. We couldn't find anything.
Well, that's why we don't go looking for them. We let them come to us. How about, I got an idea. So we get our buddy Traven here to dress up like a farmer, get him a cart, and we all disguise ourselves as food. He starts heading out, and when the brigands come, we jump out and we knuckle some heads in.
You want me to dress up as a carrot?
I mean, you'd be into that sort of thing, I think.
Perhaps we should just go to the site of the destruction and investigate there.
Please understand, Angela kind of says, I'm very thankful for all and any solution you might come up with. Please understand that, you all are very distinct. I don't even feel like I need to give you a quote unquote ornamental key to the city to come back in. The guards will know who you are, and please feel free to do whatever sort of investigating you feel might be worthwhile.
Get some wheat and shove it in my armor.
I think.
Look like.
So you think, Traeger, we should go check out the ruined village and see what we
I think so, while there's still light.
Yeah, it's still light. But it's late afternoon, definitively, right? You're approaching evening. So you all decide to leave the Jester's Pride. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe we should grab some supplies on the way, because we are heading out the west side where the fella said all those merchants were.
So
we're just going to check out the burned cottage area, and then we're going to come back into town when it starts to get dark.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking we get some healing potions just in case. Because stuff.
Sure, if you'd like to look for those, no one's in charge. You may do as you wish.
You know, y'all head on ahead. I'm gonna go do some shopping, and I'll meet y'all out there.
Very well.
Okay. So Arjack is on the map. Traben is on the map. We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go with Traben real quickly first. Okay. Where is everyone else going?
With that.
With Traben.
Okay. So Traben, you as you kind of leave the city out the 3A gate, it's quick to see again as you kind of walk back down from Jester's Pride to the lower mercantile area. There is a city wall. It's definitely not as substantial as the other one around this area, and you leave, and it's guarded by 2 guards again, and they kind of identify who you are, and they're very respectful of you as you come and go. There's not any sort of, hey, there's dragons. There's none of that kind of stuff going on. They're very respectful of the group as they leave and enter the city. As you head over to the burned cottages, it is just, you're reminded of Stickley and the farms that were kind of beat down and mud kind of entering all the areas. You can still see lingering footprints from the giants that were kind of using this area almost as batting practice, and it's clear that the giants were how do I explain this? No one was living here when the giants came through.
Okay.
So it's kind of like if they had started trying to repair, like you can kind of see little places where maybe they were trying to repair some pieces of the wall and then it just utterly destroyed. It didn't appear like it was more like an attempt to raise the buildings again. So there would have been like carpenters and stuff over here trying to rebuild the buildings, but not being successful because as soon as they did some repair, the giants came through and destroyed it again. Right? This area, this whole burned cottage area, is very much identified. I mean, you kind of hear it, the kind of a nervousness in the voice of the guards as they let you through 3A gate. They're kind of like, just be careful. That place is cursed. Don't. He's like, yeah, I don't go there. You're very brave
No, I'm not.
to be heading in that direction. It's very impressive seeing you all walk with such gait, and he kind of points to Gesh and Traban and Adol when he points to Aiden.
Aiden's running the other way.
Does she go back in the build or into the town?
She's trying.
Oh.
No, Aiden,
He said it's cursed.
No, people say that when they fear things.
Yeah, I fear things. Lots of things, most things, especially cursed things.
So I'm sure the guards did you no favor in explaining all this, but
yeah.
So you kind of see Aiden, I guess, scratching at the wall trying to get back in, and the guard's like, we'll open the door for you if you want, but I thought you were going to go investigate.
Aiden, come help us. We may
My
need your
eyesight
assistance.
is very bad.
We
I'm
may
not
need
very
your
good at it
assistance.
yet. I suppose you could get killed.
Well, I wasn't thinking that way.
It's cursed. It's likely you'll get killed.
Would you please quit saying that word?
Killed? Okay.
No, the
Maimed.
C word.
Oh, cursed. Oh,
Cursed?
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Killed doesn't start with a C. It starts with a K.
Oh. Okay. Well, that place is, you know what I mean?
It's spooky. Just say it's spooky.
Oh, yeah. It's creepy heebie-jeebie. And with that, y'all head on out to the burned cottages. I'm just going to have you go to this first cottage. Go ahead and give me an investigation roll. And anyone who's really going to go inside the cottage. If you are not going inside the cottage, you're staying on the outside, I need a perception check.
Can Arjak start making his way that way after buying things?
Well, because they said the C word, the first thing Traven is going to do is, as he's walking up, he is going to look deep within himself and ask Torm with a silent prayer to make sure that it is safe and that there are no, celestials, fiends, or undead within 60 feet.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
To do a divine sense.
Absolutely.
And then he's going to go into the cottage.
Okay. So you do your divine sense. It takes it's not an, is it one round or?
It's an action. It's an action and it lasts for.
So, Aiden, you notice, Traven is like about to, do some religious precept. And again, because you're a cleric, you kind of recognize what he's doing. Traven, you don't get a sense of any of that anywhere near. I mean, as far as you've ever reached before, you don't sense anything of that sort of demonic or abyssal or,
It also detects the presence of any place or object that has been consecrated or desecrated.
So while there's an absolute destruction of an area, there was nothing ever of religious significance in the burned cottage area. So the notion of desecration, I don't think would be there.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's go through. Gesh, so you're staying on the outside of the building, and really it's just these massive footprints that are kind of got your mind immediately focused in on it, and unfortunately it's keeping you from deciphering anything else. Traven, you've gone into the building, and you did no, you haven't done an investigation, right?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did do investigation. Okay, so let's start with Aiden first. Aiden, while Gesh is really like focused on all the damage and destruction of the absolute buildings, maybe it's that fear of hearing the C word that has got Aiden at a hyper realized state, but the you notice kind of from the outside of the structure that there's you have some concerns for people walking into any of these buildings. They don't feel to you structurally sound. Okay, now Traven walks right in after you've perceived this and starts looking carefully at things. The first thing that you notice, like I said, is that there's no pictures, there's no chairs, there's no chests, there's no, like, these are hulking cottages that are just the husk of buildings, right? The structure is there, absolutely nothing else is there, which again kind of reinforces that notion of, unfortunately, when the brigands left before, they were probably pretty thorough of removing all of their possessions. So there's nothing of note that you see when you're in these buildings.
So it's almost like the giants that attacked this area were kind of vandals beating up an old destroyed building.
Right. And if any kind of recollection of how the giant in Stickley acted, they might not have realized, or like when they did a perception check on the outside of the buildings, they might not have realized that these buildings were completely abandoned. They were probably looking for food and sustenance. Right? They crack it, and all of a sudden it's like, no food. Like you have this like weird image from Torm kind of like going into your brain going, yeah, not the brightest bulbs going on from a opponent perspective. Now I'm going to jump over to Arjak real quick. Arjak, so you see Timmy's magics, right? Like right there. It's and it's kind of funny because you get the sense that even his his sign making kind of spills into how fast he talks, because the N or the M for Timmy and Magic's almost look like they're kind of jumbled up into the same word. You can barely make out the Y kind of thing.
Used car salesman.
So I'm gonna go ahead and just like knock on the door a little.
Yes. All of a sudden, like the top half of the door swings open. I see you.
Yep, I'm gonna. You sell healing potions here?
We got heal potions anytime you want. We got these kind of heal potions, those kinds of heal potions. You have these potions that might be heal potions, but I don't really know, and I'll sell them so cheap.
Ooh. What color is that liquid?
It's a green murky liquid.
I'll take one of those.
Oh, there you go.
How much is that?
10 gold pieces.
10 gold pieces? Okay, and then if you got it, 3 just standard healing potions, you know.
Give me a second. Comes back in a blink of an eye. He's got like 5 potions in his hands. He's like, I can't count to 3.
I'll give you 100 gold for that.
10? No.
Wait, 10?
He had 10 potions in his hands.
Oh. Well, I just need 3.
Oh, but why settle for 3 when you can have 10?
Because I can't afford 10.
Oh, well, what can you afford?
Well, how about I pay you 100 gold for those 3? Let's settle on that for now, and I'm going to buy some more stuff.
So the attention deficit that this character is exuding is becoming very clear to you as he starts like juggling his potions. He's like, for 100 gold, you only get 2.
How about 100 gold for those 2 and the other one?
I like you. You're going to come back to the shop as soon as you can, right? With more money.
I might buy more stuff right now.
That sounds fantastic, but we're going to be closing soon because time is of the essence.
Okay, so we'll make this deal here, and I'll see what else you got.
Well, so he has only like 1 shelf of product, and everything else is like, sorry, no one's allowed in my store.
I'm not going to come inside.
That's good because you're not allowed.
Do you got anything that I could drink and make me breathe fire?
Oh, no, we don't sell that kind of thing. You know, that's completely illegal. Did you see what happened outside that wall there? I'm not saying that I had anything to do with it, but I will tell you that I won't be carrying anything that has anything to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, good.
Fair enough. You got anything that I could drink and make me bigger?
Oh.
I'm already big. I want to get bigger.
You're substantial, my friend. Why would you need to be bigger?
Because I might have to fight a giant, and I got to be giant size if I'm going to fight a giant.
And like again, it's like he's like in middle of thought, and all of a sudden it's like, and it's like hands. He's got these 2 potions. He's like, I think one of these do that, but you got to buy them both.
How much for both?
How much you got?
I'll give you another 30 gold for that.
Oh, I don't think so. Nice try,
How
sir.
about 30 gold for 1?
Nope.
And you get a pick which one you give me.
How about 50 gold for 1, or another 100 for 2?
I'll take both.
That's a good man.
Thank you.
And so I'm assuming that he would not be handing it to you unless you had coin in hand that he literally swipes at the same time that he hands you the gold or the potions.
Right. Okay,
so subtract 200 gold.
I got it.
You have a green murky potion. You have 2 that are clearly cure light wound or cure wounds base level. And then you have 2 potions, and I will tell you right now, one's red and one's blue, and you're going to have to tell me what you drink, okay?
Okay. Oh, shoot. How do I add these on to can I add them on as miscellaneous items onto my inventory?
Just create a note. Just create a note, like write down a little note that you have a green murky potion, a blue, and a red, and we'll deal with it
Well,
later.
Over here.
You can just add it to your inventory, too, if you want to do that.
It's okay.
I'm just saying
I'll
to expedite things, then you can add it to your character after.
And I'll say
When people are watching the stream.
I'll bring friends back to buy other things. How about that?
Oh, that's very good. And but we'll have to see you tomorrow. And
Okay.
like he does not give you a chance to answer. It's like.
That's fine. And then I find someone to buy my other thing.
Okay. No, this town won't have that. It's too small.
Said they would.
I know I did, and then I realized how small this town is. They're not going to have that. You're going to have to wait a little later. I know. I'm sorry. You'll be fine.
So then I head for the gate then.
Okay.
If there's not a smith here.
There is no smith.
Okay.
So you head for the gate and you're headed outside. Now, meanwhile, outside the gates, what else are you all wanting to do?
So there's nothing of note inside this burnout cottage.
Again, there is no actual items. There's no bed. There's no chair.
Right.
There's no
Okay.
So
step back out and just say this, and it looks like it's been abandoned for a while.
yes, I need everyone to provide me in the tower perception checks.
Even me?
You're not quite outside the gates yet, so no.
Okay.
As Traven comes out and he sees Aiden just totally, as she compares her foot size to the footprints, and she's like freaking out completely, he will say something to her like, how do you think the ant feels when he walks through your footprint?
So
I try not to step on ants ever.
So, Gesh, as you kind of take a step back, again, you've kind of been focused on these footprints and all the destruction and damage. You take a step back, and something catches your eye that it's graffiti, but it's graffiti made of mud on the side of the building, okay? And you kind of look at it kind of funny because it looks like there's 3 characters that were written by a child, but the letters are massive and they kind of reach from the roof to the bottom, and it just, there's 3 letters, G, U, and H.
Do you guys see that? Looks like giant notes.
So, Arjak, you kind of come out at this point, and you're kind of noticing them all pointing to the side of the building, but you don't see it yet. They have to tell you about it. Okay.
What you folks doing?
Arjak. Looks like there's something written alongside this building, and I hope mud, but it's gigantic. It's probably giant speak-ish. It's spelling out "guh."
I know giant. Let me take a look at this. Do I see anything?
So
Mr.
you
DM?
know it's in common, which again isn't super. I mean, at least the characters are common, right? It's a common G, U, and H. They're all capital. They are. It's weird. Like it's one of those things where you kind of had to have a weird angle, like your head kind of tilted slightly, and you kind of, as you look at it, it's kind of like slightly on the kind of thatched roof, and then kind of comes down, and it kind of looks like a G, and then you kind of move over, and you can't see it from the corner of the house where the G is, but if you move kind of towards the center of the back of the house, there's this U, and then you have to kind of move over to the other corner and look at it, and it's an H, right? That's, I don't know, it's weird.
I know exactly what this is. It means giants are ugly and hungry.
Well, that's true. They are.
Yup. That's what it's got to mean.
Well, they may consider you ugly.
Maybe.
Just, you know.
They probably consider each other ugly, too.
I so want to be an NPC because I'd be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to play Alessandra, who just joined us, and I'd be like, Goliath begin with a G too. Maybe it's Goliath, ugly and hungry.
She has
Got a point.
She has a point. She does.
Never claimed to be pretty.
All right, so again, you kind of notice it, and the way that it's done, if it was the way that it was done, it was meant as a sense of pride, like if someone had etched in, you know, I was here kind of thing.
That could be someone's initials.
Now,
Like Giles?
Now, the Giants, right, kind of came through here at the conclusion, the most recent attacks were at the very conclusion of the rainfall, but before, like right as you must have left, or the day before you left Daggerford.
Right.
Okay, so it's kind of impressive that the mud, like there has been 0 rainfall since you left, which is the only reason why this is still present for you to witness at this point.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Night is falling. Y'all want to come back into the city, get some Z's?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Tell if we're cursed. I asked Gash.
What was that question? I'm sorry.
How can we tell if we're cursed or not?
Your tail falls off.
You will.
wow.
As far as I understand it, you will feel benevolent effects of some sort or another upon yourself. Warts, cysts, vomiting blood or other hubris, having to spend the day with a Goliath.
Come here. Come here.
Yeah, these sort of things will show that you're cursed.
Let's go. Inside.
Those all sound horrible.
Inside. Come here, Beth. It's okay. It's okay. Come on.
Being
Blindness.
cursed truly is horrible.
Blindness, pox, ill luck.
Aiden, if you want to, I'll make it a. We can have a little conversation with your patron deity about the answer to that question.
Okay.
Okay. So, y'all go back in. There's an inn on the lower end, and Angela kind of apologizes. She doesn't really have funds set aside to provide housing in the Jester's Pride. But she has made arrangements with one of the other inns, which is the 9 building, on the lower end, to just they're simple accommodations, but however you guys want to be positioned, whether or not it's 1 per room or 2 per room or whatever, one big great room for everyone. All of that is kind of prearranged for you within that particular structure.
We do have a comment from the Twitch chat that
Okay.
reads, clearly they wrote from right to left, and they were loving people, and they wrote hug.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. It could be that too. I'm not going to tell you. The G might be backwards.
So we splitting rooms tonight, or we want to get one big room? How do we want to do this?
One
'Cause-
big room sounds the safest.
Okay, that works. I'm gonna put a trap by the door if you don't mind, just because.
Try to remember that.
Don't go outside to take a wee in the middle of the night. Step on the trap.
So unfortunately, we have someone who can't get back into the call. So I'm trying to make that happen. Why is it doing this?
Not your day.
It is not my day. Okay, let's see. Da-da-da-da. How do I have... Da-da-da-da. So, everyone, go ahead and feel free to take a 5-minute break real quick while I try to get this other person on. Go ahead and grab drinks and whatever you need to do. Sorry, everyone at Twitch. Thank you for holding on. Just to kind of make sure that everyone's on the same page, everyone's coming back into the city limits. I guess I should need to really push the map to you. Everyone's coming back into the city limits, and again, there was some investigation, although the Angela Oaktree is the person that you were sent here to meet from Marcus in Daggerford, and kind of, Alessandra, you got swept up into this adventure with the rest of the group, right? Mm-hmm. And so Angela confided the fact that there was a guy named Giles who came in right before the rain struck, and shortly thereafter there's been a handful of people who have tried to leave the city and with food, and every time they do, they're carried. She has this map that she's kind of drawn out where quite a few of the people have been killed, or if they weren't killed, they were kind of left unconscious with all their gear, food, stores stolen. Horses have disappeared on the trail. So basically, and anyone who survived talked about it being a really small band of brigands that have like jumped out, mugged them, stole all their stuff, and left them for dead. There's one time that Angela sent a bunch of her soldiers with one of the guards to try to figure out what happened, and that ended up being not successful. Like it was they kind of saw it was either too many people, or they were able to determine that the city guard had been sent. So at that point, she's kind of frustrated she doesn't know how to address it. She's worried about the livelihoods of the population of the city, as well as the fact that it seems like everyone that's disappearing is a farmer. So food stores eventually will become an issue. Okay. Mm-hmm. So y'all come back. The building number 9 was again kind of configured, or they had planned ahead that the guard or whoever Marcus was sending was going to be. They were going to make housing arrangements in the local inn. That's the 9. It's not as nice as the tavern in Jester's Pride, but it's serviceable. When y'all come to make your arrangements, Lieutenant Dan comes to where you're staying. It's literally called Whitehall, and that's the name of the inn. It's called the Whitehall, and he brings kind of a letter with him from Angela, and the letter, he's like, I know that you all came here potentially out of the good of your heart, or to do something very noble, but we can't. We definitely abide by our debts. And he hands you. I guess he would hand it to Gesh, because I think he had the biggest connection with Gesh at the time. So he hands the letter to Gesh. Gesh, if you open it, yes. Yes. It's a communication from Angela, basically stating that. It says the following, that her intention is to offer each one of you 100 gold pieces if you dispatch with Giles. And she's like, I apologize. I know this isn't it. It's not in the nature of a city guard to want someone removed at all costs. What I ask is that you don't tell me how you did it, but that you just simply get rid of him, and that if you assure me that he never is coming back, then we'll make sure that you each get paid 100 gold. And the intent, Gesh, you can tell, you get the sense from the communication that you had before with Angela that she might not be letting on that she lost someone in this whole transaction of death that has occurred at the hand of Guile.
So Gesh will pass the paper over to Traven once he's done doing his prayers. Well, now we have a bounty, and a bounty I understand. Pretty good lump of gold for this man, too. This should be fun.
Traven will just read it very quickly and then kind of shrug. And pass the note to whoever's next in line and say, a bounty is well and good, but duty is foremost.
So give me a history check, Traben, and Dude in the Tower.
Surely.
All right, so you're really well familiar with the way that the law of this particular land goes. Her asking you to dispatch of him in a meaningfully definitive way is well within the legal boundaries of how law is set here. So it's not, although you can kind of tell that in her nature she would be a little bit more charitable in all this, she's well within her limits to say, just kill him.
Well, and he will, express that to the rest of his newfound friends.
And she doesn't state that anyone else has to die. Just Guile.
Right.
Because she believes, you get the sense that she believes that without him, they'll just disperse.
Well, it seems like, just from the story she told, that this Giles is some type of, he's stirred them up. He's a community organizer.
Yes, he's got meetup on lockdown.
Giles the one that on the boat that was
Brandon?
The one that while on the boat with the ferryman that was so impressed with because of the way he hushed people up and how they all like.
Yeah, you kind of also get the sense that that some of the guard might be so enamored with him that Angela might be worried that he was informed. Right? So it's
Understood.
she completely feels out of power in addressing this particular situation, and she doesn't know how to deal with it.
So Giles is very charismatic.
Yes. I mean, Brandon was gushing on all over him, even though, clearly if Angela understands this, probably all the city guard know this, that he riled up all the bandits and had been killing people. And when he was bringing you across the shore, he's like, man, that guy was really cool, right? And so,
yeah,
albeit a youthful ferryman and a youthful guard who some of the other guards were kind of disgusted by, it definitely plays into all that. So it's evening. I figure because you all are are you still doing guard, or are you just being like, we're in city walls, whatever?
I can put my bear trap by the front door. I figure that'll go off whether they step in it or not, trying to come in the front.
So if you're going to take the large room, it's going to be on the first floor, and fortunate or unfortunate, there are 3 windows as well as the front door that lead into this one room. So, I mean, it's fine.
Let's do the big room, and I'll take first watch.
Okay. The 2 religious, the paladin and the cleric. Is there anything that y'all are planning on doing?
Nope.
Draven's going to pray at midnight.
Okay, so nothing happens during Arjak's watch. Alessandra, you weren't in the current watch order, so I don't know what your take-in is of what's going on, or if you're just going to let the rest of the party guard, or.
I think that she'd probably partner watch with people because she doesn't really know how that works just yet.
Okay.
So I feel like you guys probably wouldn't want her to be by herself, at least for the first time.
Wake up! I heard a noise.
Right.
Okay, so you'll take watch with Arjak then at the
Sure.
early watch. Okay, and then the second watch.
He hates me the most right now, so.
Totally. It's true.
The second watch, if I remember correctly, was typically the 2 Dragonborn. Because I got the feeling that Aiden didn't want to be guarding, or I guess it was Aiden and Traben, and then
the morning one.
Oh, okay, did the morning one. Okay, so anyways, the night goes on without a hitch. I mean, it's a well-defensed city. No one's trying to break in. So anything that you needed us to take a second to actually go over what happened that night, if there's particular activities that you all do, let me know so that we can cover that before dawn breaks and people leave.
Say that again.
So, for instance, at midnight, you pray to Torm. So you, again, you kind of have this secondary kind of blurry vision during your prayer. Actually, go ahead and roll religion for me in the tower. By the way, I want everyone on the stream to know there's actually a... I can't move it over there. I'm trying to. It just falls behind the map. Anyways, Traven has like dedicated written out prayers for like that he just drops into the discussion area. Okay.
And Gesh is rolling his eyes at each one.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness Gesh is sleeping.
Oh, they're a chant. They're a
He
chant.
still
They're,
rolls
you
his
know,
eyes in his sleep.
Yeah.
These prayers, the dawn, the noon, the evening, and the midnight prayer are not whispered in hush. They are chanted. They are.
But you don't want to do it where you're waking up your party, right? I mean, you don't want levels of exhaustion for people.
Well, he's not bashful about them.
Right.
But he's not like. I mean, he's not going to be standing at the pulpit, Jimmy Swaggart these things or anything. But he's not bashful about them.
Okay,
He's banging his shield with a sword.
Yeah.
No, it's conversational.
Getting out the electric guitar, yeah. Getting the.
And he's always facing Tantris, whichever way Tantris is.
Fantastic.
It would be to the east. So.
Okay, so you're facing east. The vision that comes to you from Torm is incredibly blurry, and it's disturbing to you by the fact that you can't make out what. You can tell that he's trying to tell you something, but you can't make out what it is. You get only the based on the noise, you kind of envision that he's kind of giving you a vision from someone who was maybe one of the carpenters when the giants had come through, who had been killed, and eyes wide or eyes open, you're still seeing the giants just crushing the building, and one of the giants stops at the building that you investigated and just grabs this heaping amount of mud and is very precise, like where the things were just kind of like wailing on it, right? All of a sudden he becomes very precise when he tries to scroll these three characters on the side of the building, and then you kind of want to reach out and understand more. He does end up spelling it with the H first and working his way back, but he's just he's very precise in his movements. All of a sudden he kind of stops from being this just destroy the thing to putting this up, and you keep hearing just this faint whisper, "We can't find food," and all of a sudden both of them almost smack each other like, "You need to go south," and they disperse in different directions. Okay?
They
Yes.
did want a hug.
All right, so the next morning, Aiden, as you're doing your call to your higher power, correct, in the morning? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I need to understand, because you're in actually a building and you kind of were going along the notion of planting trees and stuff, if there's going to be kind of like a follow-on activity after you're done with your prayer to lead the thing. And
Yeah, I'll pray outside.
Oh, okay.
There's some green there on the map, right? Oh, look at that tree.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so you take a moment and you hear a lot of whispers as people kind of watch, because there's a lot of morning activity. Kids are out and about, and they tend not to be shy, but you notice the same sorts of like trepidation that sometimes you have for going out into the wide world. They have around you because they keep remembering stories and they keep talking back and forth about you kind of hear one girl whisper to another young boy, and she's like, "Is that gonna eat me?" And he's like, "No, don't be silly." She's like, "How do you know?" And he kind of goes, "Look, it's like the coins. She's got coin color. That we're safe." And so they're like, oh, "Okay," and they kind of like walk by, but there's still that kind of like, "Don't get in her way. Don't disturb her. Whatever she's doing, just leave her alone." You kind of, I'm assuming you take a knee as you do your prayers, or?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is she doing this during her allotted watch time?
No, this is in the morning.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought she left during her watch time. I was like,
No, this would be kind of Gesh's watch time at this point.
Okay.
And so she leaves, and so as you kind of you do your prayers, and you almost get the sense that this cursed notion that's been like running through your head through the earlier part of the day, you just get this sense of absolute calm from your higher power, and it kind of you kind of wash over this reassurance of You are not cursed. Yeah. So 14 big sides later. What else is anyone doing in the morning before you all decide that you might want to be taking off? Or
Arjack will use his whetstone and sharpen his axes like he does every morning.
Fantastic.
He'll take a little bit of the oil and work it into his braids and in his beard a little bit, and then head about the day.
Okay.
Hey, do you have another one of those stone thingies?
No.
Oh, okay.
What do you need sharpened?
This, and I pull out my dagger.
That's cute. I mean, come here. And so he'll sharpen her dagger for her.
Okay. Okay. You wake up the next morning. It's so in the calendar of Faerun, as we've been taught in other adventures I've been in. It's not quite Myrtle. It's still in the month prior. So it's the springtime. It's past the spring solstice though. Days are longer than nights during this time. It definitely is a lot of greenery. Aiden probably gets kind of like this huge sigh of relief as, at least when she's leaving, it's not all barren and nature is dead all around her. It's very much in bloom. Y'all, where do you want to go at this point?
Well, on the map there were places marked where calamity had occurred, correct?
Are you saying within the burned cottage area?
No, whoever she had marked on the map where
right,
their bodies had been found or wagons had been found, things like that, right?
Right, and only one went to the north. Every other one was out the gate 3B. So it's hours of travel down the road. Maybe a day. It's because again, you're not looking at a map that was, done by people with measuring out each little bit. Cartographers. This is a drawing of a map done by city guard as a representation, not an actuality, but right. So it's some notion of hours or days to the east.
So I will go to the group and I will say during my evening or nighttime prayer, the loyal fury blessed me with a vision, and I believe the giant was trying to tell whomever that he was hungry.
Did you visit the other alchemist?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, what do giants even eat?
Everything they can get their hands on.
Well,
that is edible. I mean, did not the one that visited your village demand all the food from the village?
I mean, he wasn't really that smart. He couldn't really communicate well. And I don't know giant.
I do.
Well, of course you do.
What we were told by your father,
you are a giant.
He demanded all the foodstuffs in your village, and you all were preparing to do so.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can get food, though, so how come he can't find food? I don't understand.
That is a good question.
There probably aren't many giant farmers.
Perhaps this Giles is stealing the food to anger the giants.
Question, DM Brian.
Yes.
Can I make a... Well, that doesn't really help. Never mind. I was going to say, because of my mountain-born trait, that I'm from the mountains, would I be able to do like a history check or survival or something with kind of what hill giants are like?
I'm going to say no. I mean,
okay, that's
it's your background would try to give you a better understanding of like how to traverse particular areas and things and dangers and hazards and stuff. But the direction they're heading is low-level coastline, not any sort of hill whatsoever.
Gotcha.
So
Perhaps we should visit the nearest farm.
Reckon that's a good idea.
And see that if they are safe or if they have been harmed in some way.
So there is farms both to the north and east of Julkoun. What direction would you like to head in?
Most of the people that have been killed or gone missing have gone missing traveling east, right?
That's correct.
Well, let's go east then.
Okay, so
We'll kill two birds with one stone.
So you'll head
Don't talk about
east.
killing birds around Aiden.
Well, you were eating chickens.
Yeah.
Do you have a thing about birds?
Birds are beautiful creatures.
She thinks birds are friends, not food.
Well, they sure are mighty tasty, though.
Right?
Sorry about that.
So out gate 3B, you kind of notice 3 guards. Where every other place that you've had a housing of guards, there's only been 2. With 3B, there are 3 guards, and they look more equipped, right? Their armor is just a little bit nicer. Their blades are just a little bit sharper. By far and away, probably the cream of the crop as far as city watch under Angela's command. So, you all come through as you're leaving Julkoun through 3B. They kind of issue you a little bit of a warning. It sounds a little bit more. They don't go into the notion of cursed at any point in time, but they do say things like, just please be careful when you're making your way out to the east. We're sure that you're able to handle things yourself, but I wanted to make sure that you understood that we're trying to be cautious for you.
As they go, can because she's so tiny, can Arjak kind of grab Alessandra by the back of her shirt and just kind of carry her out to the side as they walk?
No, put down. I don't like to be picked up, and I'll start kicking.
Yeah, I don't think that would fly. Like, especially if you went through the gate like that, they'd be like, "Sir, please unhand the halfling. That's ridiculous."
Now you know how the chicken feels.
Touche.
Lessons learned everywhere.
So I just want to kind of make it clear that the maps that we're going to show in here are actually representative of the maps that were drawn by Angela. Okay? So unlike other encounters where we've had, colorful maps, these will be hand drawn with black. So just want you to be aware. I went thematic here.
Don't get your hopes up.
So, and unfortunately, because of the way it's done, it's reversed. So you're going to be heading towards the left, but assume that the left is to the east. Okay, that it's. I just can't. I can't switch the map that way. I know.
Is north and south reversed too?
Effectively.
Okay.
We'll do this. Good times. Anyways, so you head out trekking to the east. There is this it's about a 2-hour journey outside the city where you see kind of the first big farming, I want to say that it's very much a settlement. It's almost like a micro town outside of Julkoun, but it's still classified as part of Julkoun settlement as far as population is concerned, as far as rights to protection and that kind of thing. They pay taxes to Julkoun and the like. It's a series of 3 houses that all have their front of the house facing away, and where the houses connect, effectively, it's one story. Arjax, you probably won't be able to get in any of them though, because they are lower to the ground to avoid issues with wind and any sort of tornado kind of thing. So they intentionally build their housing like right at about 6.5 feet. The people here have just been over time are not super tall. They're, you know, right in, like, a lot of the men are maybe 5'5". The women are 5'2". There's just a kind of natural selection has taken place in order to kind of stay away from concerns of weather that have persisted. The larger people have kind of been bred out of the population in these areas. They greet you with kind of lemonade and biscuits as you approach. They're very down home people. You kind of hear like an excitement. Hey, we got people visiting us, and they like kind of rush out, and they're like, they kind of set out a nice blanket for everyone to sit on, and they're like handing out biscuits and pouring lemonade into into these goblets that they provide you. Clegg. And they're like,
greetings. Well met.
He's going to take a sip of the lemonade and just go,
So you notice that it's incredibly sweet.
Are you going to finish that? I'll have it instead.
It's incredibly sweet lemonade.
Tasty.
It's syrup. I gave him a syrup. And he passes it off to Eslandra.
So and they're handing out biscuits. They're like, there's one woman who has quite a few children. It's all big families, right? The family is there's kind of like an understanding of staying there and kind of working the farm. And once a person, you know, gets to a level of maturity, they're all human. So we're talking like 20 years of age. They then decide whether or not they're going to break out and either find a mate in one of the other communities that are kind of configured the same way, or if they are going to just continue to work for their family. There are some people who don't ever leave, and they just they enjoy being with family, and that's their life.
So it's the Faerunian version of the Amish.
Yeah, very much. I mean, that's very true. But they are. There's kind of like a nothing to do out here. So as soon as they saw you kind of walking up their pathway, they knew you were coming to their house, and all of a sudden the hospitality just kind of flowed out of their homes to, you know, and it's so one of the things that's also pretty clear is they probably don't want you coming into their house because there's so many people there for the size of the dwellings that they live in.
Do any of them look almost like a village elder or someone who would stand out in that role?
So there is a woman that they call grandmother, but one of the kids kind of tugs on Elissandra's jacket or you know, outer garment just a little bit, and they kind of go, "She's not really our grandmother." So you don't quite understand whether or not they just kind of adopted her or what happened, but there's definitely a sageness about her, and it's kind of, you kind of get the sense that there's these three homes, and generally speaking, she kind of walks through how like each one of the farming communities is three homes, and that way you always have someone to break the tie if there's ever a debate, and whatever gets decided is what goes. Like no one tends to hold a grudge because life is too hard out here for that nonsense. They are very Aiden, you are kind of amazed at how in tune with nature the people are that you're speaking to, that they're not afraid of you and they're just excited, you know. The fact that you have, you know, dragon features and Gesh has dragon features, they're kind of like just sit there with eyes wide open and we're so excited. Like, can I touch your arm? That's so cool, you know. And they're very protective of the land because that's their way of living.
So when she mentioned, number one, do we see any menfolk?
You definitely notice far more women than men. So are you bringing that up, or are you?
No, but
okay.
That was just for visualization.
I'm sorry. There's one woman in particular who you can tell she's far more reserved. Her children kind of keep asking questions that she does. You know that she has an awkwardness in answering.
But when the grandmother brought up or mentioned the hardships out there, that's why there was no grudges held or anything. Traben will ask, speaking of hardships, have there been any any out of the ordinary hardships recently?
And she kind of pulls you to the side because she doesn't want to bring up this in front of clearly this woman that you've seen, right? That one of the people who was found dead on the road was her husband. And they're having a difficult time explaining to the younger children, like of 5 years of age and younger, because they kind of forget and they re-ask the question of when dad's coming home, and so she's kind of, you can tell there's a weight to her right now that deals with that as a concern.
So the question that Traben would have was how was it? Was he killed going to town, going to Julkoun, or just working on the farm?
It was not working on the farm. It was. I want to make sure I got this right.
Well, as you're asking this, Alessandra will stand up and walk really fast over to you and get out some paper and a pencil and pretend like try to write things down as if she's helping.
Who's she rushing over to do this with?
Because she saw that like Traben walked away with the lady and started asking her questions or whatever. She's gonna like rush over there and start trying to write things down that's important.
And while you look that up, Brian, what was the name of this town that we're in?
It's basically a suburb of Julkoun, so they don't distinguish.
Okay, it's just a township. Gotcha.
It's a township, yeah. So
Unincorporated.
Yeah.
Right. They were headed to Succumber, which is the next town east of Julkoun on this road.
Was he traveling? Was he taking, farm goods to sell? Was he going to market? What was he doing? I mean, why was he traveling to Succumber?
So the reason is that usually we've just come out of the kind of the spring solstice, and there's kind of a festival for outdoor sales of farm goods that Succumber opens up right in that time frame when their farms are not quite as don't have the the soil that we do. So our crops always grow really, really fast, and we start having plentiful bounty early on. So we rush the food over there to provide a little bit of coinage back to our home to make sure that we're having and as well as Succumber. As much as Julkoun is more of a rest stop, Succumber is a merchant town.
Okay, so exactly how was he killed? Do we know? Was it?
So, I mean, unfortunately, he was one of the bodies that was left with a carriage that the wheels were kind of trashed. All of the food had been ransacked, and he was stabbed multiple times.
Ransacked, not stolen, and he was stabbed.
That they don't steal for whatever reason. They don't steal the carriage. At least not in this instance.
The foodstuffs.
They just steal the contents of the carriage. We're actually not quite sure. Unfortunately, he didn't survive, so we don't have a means to determine why.
Was this an unnaturally bountiful year, or not so much?
No, I mean, this is an average year for us, but our average years are bountiful. The fact that we had, we started having crops grow before the torrential downpour that occurred last month. So, like, even in, shortly after the winter solstice, we were able to grow crops. And you kind of notice that they're doing actually two different types of crops, right? They're so close to where the river is that there is crops that are growing what is more kind of understood as like farming crops, and then they actually grow rice as well directly in the shallow area of the river. So the waters in the river stay warm enough because we're, if we were north of here, there'd be more concern. But they're able to pull. They're pulling in rice. They're pulling in, and the one kid kind of overhears the grandmother talking about rice, and they go, "That's what the kids do, right?" And so they get really excited to contribute in that way. You can kind of tell that this wiser woman has really kind of gone out of her way to gamify everything, so that even chores that seem like hard labor are just like, I got 3, you got 4, and they all kind of like get excited about doing chores in this way.
So are you guys just vegetarians here? Do you guys eat meat too?
So we basically, we understand that doing anything that's non-vegetarian is more for a particular event rather than an everyday thing.
Well, have you noticed a large decrease in the number of creatures?
I mean, no, but we don't. So all of our stuff tends to be livestock. Like, we're not hunters.
Okie dokie.
I don't know if I'm answering your question. She kind of gets funny when you're asking the question, because she's just like, she can't tell if you're like one of her children or so she's like, am I answering your question? That kind of thing.
Basically.
So is there any other thing that you would like to know?
Arjack would like to go over to the quiet lady.
Okay. She isn't saying very much. Like,
I know. So he's going to be like, so things been kind of rough.
She just kind of looks at you with eyes that like kind of answer the question without speaking, right? And but she kind of smirks just slightly, because her children, who have been kind of like tugging at her, the skirt of her get up, kind of switched focus, because when you sat down, I'm assuming you sat down next to her in order to talk.
Kind of kneeled, or yeah.
Yeah. So the second that happened, you had a kid like holding on around your neck and becoming this like human cape for you.
And so he goes, don't know if it means much, but in my culture, it's the women who take the burden of raising the kids, teaching them how to fight and teaching them strength, and it's considered an honor to do that as the matron of the family. And none of the warriors or the leaders or the hunters of the village would be who they are without those women folk. So it's a sense of pride, even though they do it at times on their own.
Go ahead and roll a persuasion, because you're persuading her to not be sad, right? Do it with advantage, though, based on what you said. Just
Arjack Bard.
Right?
Yeah.
So you say it just eloquently enough, like you're about to step into territory that might be not quite the right thing to say, and somehow eject yourself right out of that trouble area, and she just goes, "Thank you, kind sir," and she's kind of, I think there's a sense of, remember that they have just within their clan, they've kind of bred out tall, for lack of a better word, right? So she's just a little bit, I don't know, shy of saying much of anything. Does that make sense? Like she's there's no attraction. There's no. She's kind of wary from her own world, to the point that she's not ready to really communicate. It hasn't been that long ago. We're talking under a 10-day, which is the week span within Faerun, that her husband was killed.
So as Arjack goes with the kid on him, can he kind of like human jungle gym as he goes off?
Yeah, and they're laughing hysterically when you do that. Again, anything novel is something of a celebration with these people. Okay.
Gotcha.
Anything else that anyone else wants to talk about? Yes,
Aiden
Gesh.
is,
Oh, sorry. Aiden, go ahead and go.
Aiden is checking on their crops and blessing them.
Okay, that's awesome. You kind of notice that they're even a little more bountiful when you're concluded your oversight of concern and care for it. Gash, did you had something? Okay.
I am all good, thank you.
Okay. So they kind of make mention of the fact that there was someone. They got news from one of the other what they call tri-homes that said that there was another. There was at least 2 more caravans that have gone out within the last 24 hours, trying to make their way to Succumber. So the homes themselves are not directly on this road, but they would be traveling on this road directly to Succumber, and probably a good 2 hours of travel.
Ahead of us 2 hours, or
I'm saying that's where the road would come in to where they would be like, leaving to Succumber.
so if we continue down this road, we will run into where they intersected with this road.
Correct. There's only one road worth traveling between Julkoun and Succumber, and you're on it.
Right.
And it runs right in front of their particular home.
Right. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So,
Perhaps the case, huh?
All right, so...
Yeah, I mean, and after we leave, so that, Traven's not talking about the kid's dead dad in front of him, when we get away, he will explain to the group that, the one lady who was very quiet, her husband was killed, but Traven will say that he doesn't believe it was by a giant because his body was not mashed. He suffered stab wounds.
Correct.
And the food that he was carrying to Succumber to sell was stolen?
Correct. When they found his body, there was no food there.
Right. He will pass that information on to the rest of the party.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
I mean, I know they heard all that, but, hey.
So the question comes to my mind, is the giant forcing Giles and his troop to do what they want, or is Giles and his troop gathering bribery to make the giant do what they want?
Either way, they are evil and must be dealt with.
Okay.
Either way, I'm thinking we should talk about this on the road because we got a cart to catch up to.
Well, I figured
As we're walking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so y'all have left the little, like I said, the tri-home, and it's a roughly about an hour and a half ahead, so you haven't actually caught up to where the road connects. The journey has been uneventful, and the weather is quite enjoyable, but you begin to hear the baying of horses just over the next hill. As you move closer to the top of the hill, you begin to hear a woman's voice yelling incoherently. Then, the voices of 2 men can be heard. You crest the hill and see a woman on horseback pulling a small cart full of apples. A burly man on horseback blocks the woman's path and holds her horse at bay. Another man has dismounted and is taking the apples from the woman's cart and stuffing his saddlebags.
You there!
So...
Oh, no.
Hey, what are you doing, mister?
I want to roll for initiative.
I'm running as fast as my little legs can carry me.
So...
Did you
Are
draw
we,
this, Brian?
No, but I told the story as though it's part of her this drawing that the Angela has constructed. So these are the 2 men.
There's one on horseback.
Correct. The one that's closer
Okay.
to the front is the one on horseback. There's no icon for
Horse.
well, not just for the horse, but for the woman that they're kind of harassing. But just envision that basically he has the reins of this cart, and the woman is sitting in the cart trying to get this. It's a fairly sizable amount of apples that she's bringing evidently back to Julkoun. Okay. Initiative.
Project. Yes.
Aren't
Please.
we due to be done at 1:30?
Yes, because I'm not this. There's only 2 people here. I'm going to spoil that right now. There's only 2. There's only 2 brigands. I'm hopeful that within 1 or 2 rounds, you all will either take them out or they'll run away.
be dead before Traven even gets there.
That was me with the giant. I'm like, I'm coming, guys. I'll get there.
Let me quickly... Oops. Hold on. Ah, the joys of fancy ground sometimes.
Oh, can I preparatory something, like as we're going in? Can I cast something?
Yeah, basically, I'll give you all
It's not
one...
a damage spell, it's like a...
Yeah,
I just
anything
wanna
that
cast
you would
mage
do
armor.
in preparing for battle, you all would get kind of away with, because they're way more focused on trying to do whatever they're currently doing, and not so much on the approach of you all towards them. So effectively, one round, literally one action, you would get to do something before they take notice of you. So envision, even though you are on the map, that you're just offside the map.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that move, Aiden.
I'll
Right
even hide
there.
behind a halfling.
She at least protects you 50%. Or, no, 25%, 30%.
Wait, I don't know what that means. Oh, I think I did the right thing, right? Maybe? I don't know.
What did you do?
Mage armor.
Uh,
I clicked the effect.
Yes.
might have to click yourself in the effect. It's not showing on you in the...
Yeah, you have to drag the
tracker.
effect to yourself, probably.
Oh, on the tracker, okay. There.
There you
Voila.
go.
Do I have the highest initiative? This doesn't
And
happen.
P.S. That's
And
a
yes.
level 1 spell.
Say that again?
That's a level 1 spell.
Okay, so Arjack, you're up.
Arjak's gonna pull his weapon and his shield, and he's gonna. I'm gonna let you figure out how I can do this. He's gonna run at the guy at the horse and try to body check the horse over.
Okay. I'm going to have you do a strength check against his dexterity for riding check.
Okay.
Okay, so basically, will Scout 1 get out of the way sufficiently that you can't actually body check?
Oh gosh,
How?
that's not a good roll.
Well, see, that's the danger of not rolling in
I
the
know.
tower, because sometimes the DM will provide.
Oh
Hey, don't be giving away secrets. Don't be giving away secrets, man.
Hey, I'm a DM too. I know how this goes.
So, okay, so Arjack does this. Oh, wait a minute. So, did you... Yeah, I got to release your... I guess... Let me lock tokens. And... are you going to go ahead and draw your movement up to it?
Oh, there?
Sure.
Let's see if that works.
So you're literally, because the woman still has a horse attached to her cart. So Arjack runs as fast as he can and kind of leaps onto the railings that go along the horse and throws his whole body forward, which is the reason why that strength check just didn't work like you wanted it to, right?
Well, I was having more of like a shoulder charge to like hit the horse, like cow tipping, but aggressively.
Yeah. So
Mother, don't hurt the horse.
So in the process of doing so, though, you kind of actually go ahead and make a dex save, because I want to know whether or not you fall on your face.
Dex save. Dex.
Nice.
No, so you don't. So you leap forward, and then you kind of... I'm going to have you move... Let's see. Accept move. But what I need you to do is actually move to the other side of the man on the horse. So you kind of leap forward, and it's kind of more like you didn't leap high enough, and the guy kind of gets the horse to kind of do a prance upward, and you just lunge forward but kind of low and slide in between the horse's legs, do a somersault, and end up on the other side.
Well, as I land up on the other side, I'm going to take my action surge and hit the other guy with my axe.
All right.
Did that count as your action?
I assume so.
Yeah, hit that charge action. Effectively, what I did was that I made it as
just
though...
a charge attack or whatever?
Well, that he was effectively trying to grapple the horse.
Oh, gotcha.
Might have been the wrong way to do it, but...
You want to go ahead and let me move?
So, unfortunately...
Oh, wrong one.
Oh, you moved.
Ugh.
You moved the scout.
Yeah, hold on. So, unfortunately, when you overlap with the scout, I couldn't find a way to accept your movement.
Okay, so I
Alright.
do that. Target that. Abilities, no. Inventory, no. Actions, yes. Battle axe.
Nice.
And that's a solid hit. Again, Arjak somehow does a somersault and completely clearing the other guy with the horse. It's kind of like, I meant to do that. So you've already, like, with your axe, you kind of, like, just cut directly into this guy, and he's just like, what the hell just happened? I was just trying to get these apples, and it's just blood is gushing everywhere. He didn't even see you kind of approach because he was behind the cart, right? He's like immediately fearful of you as all this is going down, and he's just like, how can you? There's so many of us. And it's Alessandra, it's your turn.
Okay. I'm gonna cast magic missile. I'm gonna do 2 here. Ooh. It's not doing that. Hold on. Oh, control. That's right. Alright, we're going to do 2 to him. Let me open. And then 1 to this dude.
Try to keep one alive so we can interrogate him.
All right, so, okay, so these 3 little bolts kind of like, They actually seem much larger coming, from a halfling. They're almost the size of your hand as they kind of dart forward as these blue energy kind of like hits. And the scouts go from Pixel. Come on, man. my dogs. I love them.
Pixel's in this fight too.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, you gotta take them out. So they do significant damage, but it's not taking them out, and you've kind of left them in a state where, whether or not you can question them later on might be a question. Did you want to do any movement?
There.
Okay. And now we go.
Shield is gone.
No, it's not.
No, I said 8.
Oh.
Your shield is gone.
Why?
The meat shield.
So, Scout 1, Arjak, he's just like screaming at you. He's taking all this damage, but he's like, I just got to get the. Like, have you ever had this kind of sense of, okay, bully, all of a sudden they get hit, and they're like, well, I have something to say, but I'm terrified I'm going to be overrun by everything going on. So, as he's talking to you, he is kind of like leaving hightailing it out of there on horse, and so you do have an attack of opportunity if you wish to take it.
Yes.
But I will tell you that as he's going, because he's actually, I'm sorry, he's going to do nothing but disengage and take off. He's not going to do an attack, so you won't be able to do an attack for opportunity.
I was going to say disengage removes my attack of opportunity.
Right. So he's moving at full speed, and he's screaming behind him. His buddy is just absolutely mortified that he has no support from his gang, right? And he's just like, there's hundreds of us. You're never going to get away. Don't think this is over. I'm just going to go get reinforcements. And he keeps going down the path.
That sounded like vicious mockery, and that's an action, so he gets an attack of opportunity. Right?
Ah, nice. Okay. Let's make sure we're kind of showing as much of the map as we can. Okay, it's now the other scout's turn. He is terrified, but he's just like, I'm not getting out of this. And you kind of see him bring out 2 short swords with either hand, and he's like, I just have to do the best defense I can do. And so he's going to attack you, Arjak. You're the only one has in his threat range.
He's going to miss.
Where did my...
Yeah.
and with a roll of a 1, let's go ahead and confirm this. Did it confirm? Yes, he rolls a 2 following it. So he kind of like grabs both short swords, and he's trying to play in a defensive posture, reaches them both out to attack, and lets go of them both as they both distance themselves 5 feet away from him. And he's like, I give up.
Meant to do that.
I give up. I give up. Gash, you're up.
Don't eat him yet, Gesh.
You told me to beat a coward's death. And he's going to cast Eldritch Blast at the horse rider riding away.
Okay.
Good man.
Oh, that's right. You've become a warlock. Part warlock now, huh?
Did you multi-class?
I did.
There we go. I don't have the charisma for it.
We can tell.
Oh, that's a shame. You know what though? We need to give you some inspiration. I just like the notion of him not getting away. Hold 1 second, y'all. Gotta give some, and I'll figure out. Okay, good. You gave yourself inspiration. All right. Next up, Traben, you're up.
You got a bow, Traven?
Traven. This guy has given up.
My dogs, I love them, but they're so loud.
Traven will move to there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't approve of everyone's movement. Let me go and do that.
And how far is this guy away?
About 50? 45, 50, somewhere there?
Yeah, he's too far. He's too far.
Yell at him.
Dang. Traven will just, matter of fact, he will look at the woman on the wagon and ask her if she is okay.
She's kind of in a state of shock. She's not responding. You can tell that she's relieved by the fact that she doesn't have attackers trying to rob her blind. But she is kind of, she's, you can tell she's shaken and she can't really speak right now.
Okay. That's pretty much all he's going to do.
Okay. Aiden.
All right, Aiden will move to here, next to Gesh.
I was expecting her to go off the left side of the map.
They're only brigands. And ask Gesh, so what we mean to stop him? I should try to stop him?
Indeed, he's obviously a coward. Take him out.
Okay, if you say so.
That's a hit. Guiding bolt smashing down upon the horse, the rider of the horse.
This is going to be excessive.
Holy
yeah.
crap.
So Aiden, this kind of like let's go ahead and move this map back and try to make sure that it's in view. Okay. So here's Aiden. She throws guiding bolt onto this scout who's on his horse riding full speed at this point, right? And all of a sudden, it's like a moment from This Is Spinal Tap and one of its drummers, and it's just like instant residue of a human being oozing on either side of the horse that's still running at full speed to the east.
You do realize when this horse comes back to camp, it's just going to be a pair of legs and a butt.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like maybe a little.
And he's sparkly.
But I would say that if there was anything left to hit, you would have advantage. Due to guiding bolt. Okay.
Wonderfully done, sister.
So I'm going to leave it here. We're going to open up the beginning of the next adventure with you being able to question the remaining scout. He has given up. If you choose not to let him survive again, law of the land, as Traben would understand it, is that all of these crimes are punishable by death. Because there's just no tribunal out here that can adjudicate over this kind of case. Right?
Okay.
So
Well, they're bandits.
They're bandits, right? They kind of have forfeited their rights in this kind of frontier land kind of thing. If we can quickly go as far as the woman on the cart, though, she's kind of like, she's very interested in getting out of there, and she just kind of goes, "Is there anything I need to be concerned about in that direction where you all came from?" So she's like, "If you all don't mind, I think I'd like to get out of here." Is that because she's also kind of hesitant because she's like, "You freed her, but at the same time, you could be bandits as well, right?" She's kind of stunned.
We just tell her about the farmstead down the road and that they've got some great lemonade, and the biscuits are a little hard, but they're still okay.
Okay, and thank you. And so she'll depart. We'll start up again on Sunday with interviewing. I'm not even giving him a name. He's going to stay Scout 2. If you ask me, what's your name? It's Scout 2.
Just means he is below the guy who got hit by lightning at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
He had a first name.
Yeah, Bob.
Bob had a name.
No, I think he was Dan.
No, the guy who got hit by lightning, your buddy in the caravan who died.
That was Dan. No, that was Dan.
That was Dan?
Two Dan?
That was Dan.
Yeah.
Really?
It was Dan.
Yeah,
I gotta stop reusing Dan.
It's up to you.
No, you know what? Dan's a very common name because one of the mayors of Daggerford was named Dan recently, and so at the time, all the children of the time were kind of given that first name.
Right.
Dan.
And I shall name my many children that I might or might not know about.
Yeah.
Dan Dorino.
Yeah.
Just like we have so many
Dan
Jeffersons.
Dan
in the
Deidre.
US, we
Dan
don't
Darian.
Dan,
Yeah. Anyways, thank you everyone for coming to this game. We will do our best on Sunday to finish through whatever is here. So I expect it to not take more than 3 hours, but come excited. We didn't hit the crazy role playing thing that I really wanted to address, and man, we got a lot coming for on Sunday. So expect to see everyone out on Twitchland. Thank you, party. Good night.
Good night, all.
Night.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.